If you look at the story in the Old Testament of the Israelites being taken out of Egypt and then going in through the desert and then ultimately into the promised land, it's actually a wonderful metaphor for how we need to approach growth and personal development now in our own lives. Because when you think about it, the Bible says that the Israelites were God's chosen people. And God said to the Israelites, I'm going to save you from Egypt because they were enslaved to the Egyptians, to the Pharaoh. I'm going to take you out of Egypt and bring you to the promised land of abundance of milk and of honey and all these resources. Everything you need is in the promised land. And God said, I'm going to do that for you. And he uses Moses as the catalyst, as the leader to get them out. What ends up happening is that the Israelites get out of Egypt, but then they have to spend 40 years in the desert. Why do they have to spend 40 years in the desert? Because there's a refining process. There's a stripping away of the old belief systems, the fear. And the reason God kept them in the desert was because they didn't trust in him and they didn't trust in who God said they were. Because if they had trusted in the fact that God said they were his chosen people and that God is who he says he is and was going to do what he said he was going to do, then they would have followed with obedience and very quickly gotten out of that desert and into the promised land. But they had to shed away their old identity. In fact, when you look at the numbers, it's estimated that over 2 million Israelites left Egypt. How many do you think got into the promised land out of 2 million?
I don't know.
2. Only 2 people out of over 2 million got into the promised land. What that's telling you is that there had to be a rebirth. There had to be a total shift in identity, because the 2 million that left Egypt and went through the desert, they were not the right type of person to get into the promised land. And so you have to become a different version of yourself to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Right now, if you don't have the life you want, you're either in Egypt, right? You're bound to your belief systems and your fears and your doubt and your low self-worth, or you're in the desert where you're shedding that away, where you're shedding those chains and you're breaking free from those limiting beliefs and the fears so that you can become a different version of you, a new identity. And once you are in that new identity, then you can enter into your manifestation, into your goal, into that level of success. But you can't achieve the goal as the person you are today.